She went from being a president of a company to being an unpaid volunteer, and she's happier than ever. Her story next on Significant Insights. Do you know what it's like to be in the center of God's will, doing exactly what He's called you to do? Well, Donnita Travis does. And today, Greg Bogdan is talking with Donnita about her life before and after starting her ministry, By the Hand Club for Kids. As you'll hear, Donnita was living the American dream, jet-setting around the world as she is the president of an advertising agency. Everything was going great. But then she heard that still small voice of God telling her to leave the globetrotting behind to concentrate on the world closest to where she lived, worked, and worshiped.
Tell us a bit about your life prior to ministry work.
I was actually in advertising for 18 years. Loved it, was getting to travel to places like Japan and England, all over the world, advertising in 25 different countries, but had this burden, this restlessness in my heart, in my soul, and knew that I needed to get away and spend some time in prayer and just ask God, you know, what's going on here. And so got away on a 2-day prayer retreat, and while there, God just spoke very clearly to my heart, using a verse from the book of John 10:10, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I've come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. He used that verse to let me know that he wanted my life to be about helping kids in the inner city have abundant life, just like that verse says. Now, that was 1997. I was president of an ad agency.
So that made all the sense in the world to you, right?
And loving it, you know, again, love my career, and yet I knew that that I would be spending time helping kids have abundant life.
Do you ever miss it?
I don't miss it at all. I get to use the gifts that God gave me today more fully than I ever did in advertising. So whether it's my business degree or my business experience, whether it's marketing or you know, donor relations, I get to use those, you know, leadership, all of that more fully today than I ever did in advertising. So I feel more alive, more fulfilled than ever. Plus, I know I'm in the center of God's will, and that is just so gratifying.
That's
so
really
gratifying.
Cool.
When God first put this clear idea in my heart and in my head, it was really clear that we were supposed to help kids who were in critical academic need.
Okay.
So the way that I defined that was that we were to work with Chicago public schools in the most under-resourced neighborhoods and ask the principals there to recommend to us kids who were failing in school. And the way that we started in Cabrini Green is the ad agency where I worked was about 3 blocks from Cabrini Green. The Moody Church, where I went to church, was just a few blocks on the other side of Cabrini Green. So I was very aware of Cabrini, and so it made sense to start there. And so went to the 4 grade schools that were in Cabrini, met with the principals, shared, you know, what God had called us to do, and we wanted to serve the kids who were most unlikely to graduate from school. And we, over time, defined that as kids not meeting reading standards, because reading is such a strong predictor for success in school and life.
The thing that By the Hand helped me in school is when, like when I was little, I used to get a lot of stuff, but then ever since I've been going to By the Hand, I had been getting a lot of stuff. Like, they used to always help me with my homework and like things I don't understand, so that's why it helped me in school. And my grades be getting higher, and I get like a straight A's or A's, B's, and C's.
By the Hand Club has helped me in school with my homework and my classwork.
So we have homework. I tell my teacher I need a computer so I can search up there because I don't know. I'm not gonna I don't know who he is. I have to search him up, and it helps me because it's not hard. But only if I have math. If I have math, I need help with it because it's struggling, difficult. We like do projects, a lot of projects. And by the end, it make it fun because they let us they give us sometimes they give us boards and print out some papers and stuff for our project.
God wants us to be loving.
God wants us to be loving.
By the Hand Club is a Christ-centered after-school program. Again, our vision is to help kids have abundant life, and the way we do that, or our mission, is to take kids by the hand in first grade that are in critical need, in other words, referred by principals as not meeting reading standards, and walking with them during the after-school hours, mind, body, and soul, all the way through college. We give them safe passage to the club. They're with us all afternoon. We're identifying any barrier in their life, mind, body, or soul, and removing it. So that includes, we have chapel every day. We serve the kids a warm meal before they go home at nighttime. That safe passage to and from the clubs. We have an hour and a half of academics every day, including technology-enabled reading. We have read-alouds. We have reading specialists. We have tutors there helping with homework. We have college specialists. We have enrichment classes, which include dance and sports and drumming and just a lot of fun activities.
Meeting reading standards by the third grade is important because after the third grade, students read to learn about history, science, literature, and other subjects. If they haven't mastered reading by the third grade, then they're going to have a difficult time getting educated, and their long-term prospects for work and life are going to be compromised. That's why ministry like By the Hand Club for Kids is so vitally important. More right after this.
I like By the Hand Club because you can do a lot of things to talk about God, Jesus, how he died on the cross. So you get to play games, go to this little thing named Christmas in the City, and just have fun.
Today, Greg Bogdan is talking with Donnita Travis, the founder and executive director of By the Hand Club for Kids. Now, this ministry is a Chicago-based after-school program that emphasizes academic excellence while nurturing the whole child, body, mind, and soul. In 2000, 3 years after beginning the program out of Moody Church, Donnita resigned her job as the president of an advertising agency in order to volunteer full-time at the ministry.
What are some of the specific kid stories, successes that you've had?
One of my favorite stories is about a young man who was referred to us in 2002, so this is going all the way, back to almost the beginning, who was in the third grade at the time, and his principal recommended us because even though he was in a regular third grade classroom, he didn't even know his alphabet. And his eyesight was so poor that they really couldn't even, in the principal's words, test him or assess him to see what the problem was. And the teacher started sharing that really didn't relate to the other kids, spent most of his time either at his desk or even sitting under his desk, didn't relate to the adults, didn't know his A's, B's, and C's, clearly had needs for eyeglasses, had needs for just help with hygiene, and about halfway through this list, she stopped and said, "I don't even know if you want him."
Wow.
And the other leader and I looked at each other and just smiled and said, "Yes, we want him." And of course, we're thinking, we exist for girls and boys like this young boy. So he came to the club, and within just a few weeks, we took him and got him eyeglasses. that just opened up a whole new world for him. Within just a matter of months, he knew his alphabet. 3rd grade, knew his alphabet, finally. And then within a year, less than a year, he knew how to read. And today, he's in college.
Wow.
And this is a young man. They were getting ready to place him in a special education class. But you just think about the trajectory that he was on.
Right. How have you been personally affected by the work you're doing with these kids?
Well, I tell you, I have just so much love and respect for children and their families in our under-resourced neighborhoods, because I think it's easy to have misperceptions about our youth and also their parents. Just to, give you an example, I was in a home this week meeting with a parent, and her little girl grew 2.5 grade levels in reading last year. Wow. With us. So wow. I visited with her mom, and her mom has 8 children. This young lady is blessed to have a mom and dad in the home. Mom and dad are married. He has worked for 27 years for the same company. Wow. She's a stay-at-home mom. And with this young girl that I'm talking about, in 1st grade, she knew that her daughter wasn't learning to read as she should be learning. So her mom enrolled her into an after-school program, but would ask her little girl when she'd come home at nighttime, what did you do today? And she would say, well, we put our head down on our desk and we napped. So wow. Mom was concerned. So Mom actually sought out, by the hand club, sought out another after-school program, learned about us, enrolled through the school, enrolled her daughter in by the hand club. And at nighttime, reads with this little girl, with her daughter, before she goes to bed. I actually interviewed the mom, was there visiting and talking with her, and up on the wall, on the bedroom wall, tacked to the wall, was a list of spelling words. And wow. She said, this is what we go over every night. And so you just look at the effort. We make opportunities available to our kids, but if you look at the little girl and how hard she's worked, she's the one that's really had to work, and then her mom, and going the extra steps to make sure that her child is in a program where she's going to learn. So one of the things I've learned is just how awesome our children and families are, and that's in most cases. Mm-hmm. They just need opportunities. They need resources. The other thing I've learned is how resilient kids are. You look at a little girl who was several years behind in reading, and her ability to grow 2.5 grade levels in 1 year. The other thing I've learned is how faithful God is. So I'm sitting there talking to the mom. I look over, and on the TV stand, I'm in the little girl's bedroom. On the TV stand is a Bible that we've given this little girl at the club. We try to give every child a Bible right when they join to take home. And she has it open. We go over and look, and it's open to Psalm 23, a chapter that we have taught her, taught on there by the hand club.
That's neat.
Therefore, we can have hope.
Yeah.
We can have hope. In the
Amen.
midst of all the mess that you see and all the bad news, we can have hope.
Well, let me ask you, obviously you guys have a Christ-centered approach to how you're doing this. Has that created any concern or any problems, either with families or even with some of your fundraising or your grant money? Yeah.
So with families, 99.9% of our families really appreciate and are thankful for the religious aspect of the program. So we teach our kids right from the Bible, every day in chapel. We have Bible study once a week with our kids. We give the kids a Bible to take home. We also use Kids Evangelism Explosion, where we're sharing the gospel with the kids, but also teaching them how to share the gospel with others, and the kids love it. We sing songs, about God, and memorize verses. And the kids love it, and the 99.9% of the parents love it. Over the years, we've had a handful of families who've said, we want our kids to come to By the Hand Club, but we do not want them to attend the religious part of the program because we come from a different faith background. Mm-hmm. And so we honor that, and we make other activities available for the children during that time. So activities on the computer, activities reading, activities in the gym. But I can tell you, if you ask our kids, what's your favorite part about the Hand Club? Probably 3 out of 4 kids will say learning about God. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's really appreciated. Mm-hmm. And we've had a number of kids tell us, I never dreamed I would go to college because I thought it was for smart kids and I thought it was for rich kids. So what we're trying to do is make college accessible for our kids. But we also just, once we do that, we want to make sure that our kids pursue their God-given dreams and passions, God-given vision for themselves. So if that includes, we have kids who've gone to vocational school, and we even have some vocational schools that we've helped place students in. But the main thing is we want them to know that it's accessible to them.
I'm going to college.
They tell us all types of different colleges about how fun they is and how good it would be if we go to one of them.
I'm going to college because they say you can learn more things at college from high school. So when you get like a grown up, you can know a lot of stuff. Like, cause when By the Hand, I think I was in 5th grade. We had went to this little college trip, and they had showed us a lot of things that you could do at college, and it's fun.
I want to be a judge when I grow up.
In high school and college, I want to be a professional dancer. And then after that, when I be grown, I want to be a lawyer.
If I want to be a judge, I want to be a lawyer or accountant.
The thing that I want to be when I grow up, I want to be a hairstylist, or I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher.
Get out of college like when I'm 30-something.
This last year, 100% of our high school seniors graduated high school. 93% are enrolled in college.
Wow.
This fall. That's a really high college enrollment rate. I think the average for others, for CPS, for other CPS high school graduates is about 56%.
Those amazing statistics can be credited to the power of God and the hard work of those who work at By the Hand Club. If you know of a child who could benefit from the ministry of By the Hand Club for Kids, or if you would like to volunteer, go to bythehand.org. Final thoughts on following God and walking in faith, not fear, right after this.
Having faith or stepping out in faith doesn't mean that you're not afraid. That's part of the journey. And if you think about the great heroes in the Bible, so many of them that accomplished incredible things were terrified.
Welcome back. It was a really big step of faith for Donnita Travis to quit a high-paying job and devote herself full-time to the most vulnerable children in Chicago. But she'd be the first to say that it was the right thing to do because God called her to do it. Teresa Goines, the founder of Skool Café in San Francisco, talks about taking action in spite of our fears in today's Final Thoughts.
Have you ever had a situation in life or a dream that just felt impossible? And maybe you felt like you were unqualified to handle it or to step out or even know the first steps to take. Well, I want to encourage you today that having faith or stepping out in faith doesn't mean that you're not afraid. That's part of the journey. And if you think about the great heroes in the Bible, so many of them that accomplished incredible things were terrified. God was always saying, fear not, don't be afraid, I'll be with you. So I wanted to tell a story today, a little bit about my journey and how God's taught me to do it afraid, which is one of my favorite quotes from Joyce Meyer. She had said that at a time I needed to hear that, is it doesn't mean that people aren't afraid. Just do it afraid. So there's a journey that I started with God where he had given me this vision of a youth-run supper club called Skool Café. I worked with juvenile delinquents, and one of the biggest issues was they couldn't get employment after they had gotten out of being incarcerated. And so he gave me this vision for this youth-run supper club where the youth are the chefs, the waiters, the entertainment, and they're running the whole shebang. Well, that sounds like a great vision, except for I had no restaurant experience. I had no business experience, no celebrity chef, and no big financial backers that thought this was a great idea. So I remember having this vision, writing it down as a big dream, very exciting, but I was terrified because who am I to even know the first step to take? So as I started in this journey, I thought, okay, well, let me just write it down, let me share it and step forward. There were several moments in time that made me want to quit and give up because I felt unqualified. One of those was when we finally got a building. The rent was low, but we needed to completely renovate it. But I had no money. God brings this amazing woman by the name of Allison, friend of a friend, comes to breakfast. She volunteers her husband to help me do the construction project. And then her brother came on board. So here they are, 3 people from Alabama that I just met that are living in my home and helping our youth build this restaurant that the young people could work at and run. Partway through the process, we're having a conversation in the car one day, and Allison says, "No judgment, Teresa. I'm just wondering, why would you start a construction project without any money? Because as soon as they finished their part, we needed electrical, we needed plumbing, we needed the hood, which was $20,000. And I kind of sheepishly answered, because I thought God told me to. And that night I'm laying in bed and I'm like, oh God, was this from you or was this my crazy idea? Because it's true, like you have to keep a construction project going and I don't have any money for the next step of the journey. And I started to panic, and all of a sudden I felt this peace just wash over me. And I just heard this small voice inside go, do you not have 3 people living in your house from Alabama that you just met that are doing exactly what you need right now? And I was like, good point. So it was just this sense of, I've provided because you stepped out, even though you didn't have the resources. So trust me for the next step, which is exactly what God did. Every step of the journey ended up being a $175,000 project, of which I had no money to start, and God miraculously provided the whole way. So that's one area in my journey where God taught me to do it afraid and to keep stepping out. So I hope that'll be an encouragement to you. If you have a dream that feels way too big for you, that's perfect. It means it's God-sized, because if you could do it without Him, you wouldn't need faith. So my encouragement is, do it afraid and step out.
You know, I really appreciate both Donnita and Teresa for their willingness to take giant steps of faith and be obedient to God's call in their life. And I'm sure that wasn't the most easy choice for Donnita, or for that matter, Teresa, to take that kind of step of faith. But they did it, and as a result of it, a lot of children, a lot of people have been blessed as a result of their decision. And you know, one of the things that is important is not whether or not you leave a high-paying job or a mediocre-paying job or even a low-paying job. The key is, are you obedient to what God is calling you to do? And you may say, well, I don't know. And one of the things that is important in our spiritual lives is to live close enough to the Lord that we are able to hear and know His voice, and then to be obedient to that calling, regardless of how difficult that may be. I know when Shirley and I first came to Chicago, that was a very, very difficult choice. But we determined that this is where God wants us, and there have been more blessings than I can possibly even have imagined. Thanks for joining me. God bless you.